Hello, how are we doing? Awesome. So my name is Kamau Ware. My parents are a combination of teachers, preachers, creatives, grandson of photographers, postal workers, ministers, great-great-grandson of growers, growers of food in the South. Glad to be here. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Reyes.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Issa.
If you've heard River Years, you've heard Issa's voice. You've also heard Sean's voice. Sean's here in the front, Sean Whitehorn. And we're here to open up the space by making some acknowledgments, but also just, we have a few comments that we also would like to share. One thing that I want to share in considering land acknowledgement is what comes with that. And I've been privileged to be able to have some conversation with people who are indigenous to these territories. And one thing that I've heard when I have sat with them and we share and embrace the oral tradition of exchanging ideas more in person than over email, I often get this notion from them, like it's great that people are acknowledging that this is Lenape Hokan, these unceded territories, and people of Lenape who are still present or alive and didn't just go away. But also, like, what are the things that people who are Lenape live by? What were those rules? What were those kind of important sentiments? Because it's one thing to say, here's a land acknowledgement, but also what are we doing with the water and the land? So it's not just empty words. And so we're going to just talk a bit about that and how that connects to River Years. But we give Issa a chance to say a little more about herself, also a native Gothamist.
For sure. Hi, I'm Issa. Pronouns are they and she. Yeah, I met, I'm a lead studio assistant at Black Gotham and Kamau Studios. I met Kamau naturally, where Kamau meets a lot of people, which is on a walking tour. At the time, I'm from Manhattan, and at the time, I kind of just knew, I don't know, I feel like I felt a calling in a spiritual way, but also just as a scholar to learn more about the history specifically of like downtown Manhattan. I went to a community garden growing up in the Lower East Side called Mafinda Kalunga. I don't know if any of y'all have been there, but it's named after an African burial ground where the new museum actually excavated. And yeah, so I feel like I used to pass the African burial ground. What street is that on? The one the tour with?
Duane and Reed.
On between Duane and Reed Street. And I used to pass that a lot on my way to work. And I feel like I never stopped to take in the presence of that space. And also at the time, I was looking at a grant that was specifically about sort of just land acknowledgement or having like a public program in correlation with that. So in one way or another, that led me to a walking tour with Kamau about the African burial ground. I sort of lingered and asked some questions. There was one question that he had during the tour about who Elizabeth Jennings was, speaking on sort of abolition in that way too. To put it short, she's basically the reason why New York in, I think, 1865 decided to desegregate public transportation. She spoke up about segregation in public transportation in New York.
It was a Sunday too, speaking of today.
It was a Sunday, there you go. And yeah, that sort of led me here. I do give walking tours at times. No offense, I prefer giving them to children. I think they ask better questions. So I do that as well, specifically of one of our tours, Sarah's Fire. And yeah, outside of that, or inside of that, I'm a musician as well and multimedia artist. And very grateful to be here today in the name of Abolition. I think that regarding the piece, like Moving Chains, quote I've thought about often since high school, which is when I was fortunate enough to be introduced to the work of Audre Lorde, is that your silence will not protect you. And I think that Moving Chains is definitely a piece that is breaking silence. I think that breaking silence is not only being vocal, but also listening. And I think a lot of that piece, Moving Chains, but also River Years, the commission that we did, the audio tour, invites people to break silence through listening, but also speaking up and learning the history of the place exactly that we are occupying or where we've been led. So yeah, it's a bit about me.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to back into this land acknowledgement with us just thinking about where we are right now. We are in a space that has been used as a prison, in particular during the Civil War, where the conflict of slavery continued beyond the revolutionary era, as we call it. And when we talk about abolition right now, we may not be talking about the abolition of people working on plantations, but perhaps are working in prisons. And the United States is one of the most incarcerating nation in the world. And I think it's important for us to connect our conversation about abolition today, whether it be about changing our systematic thinking about the world, the land, and nature, but also about the incarceration system that really is connected to this fight over not wanting to let go of slavery in the first place. And so when we're thinking about acknowledging the land and thinking about American indigenous practices who were stewards of these lands for thousands of years, I think it's important for us to once again also call forward. And when I say call forward, I mean we have that history in our bodies. Part of being a part of this River Years project is giving things a contemplate. And we want you to contemplate and consider how we're all ancient. You know, if you're alive right now, you come from a river of people. And that river of people can carry forward information that can enlighten how we think right now. And so in acknowledging these lands and these territories that were unceded, I think it's important for us to also just think about what were those ways that American indigenous people were stewards of the land that we can learn from. And science is only catching up to the past, because the more we realize what's in our DNA, what's in our bodies, we found out more and more how much we're nature. We found out how much more that the oral tradition is not unintelligent, but it's a matter of being able to exchange words and energy in the same place with somebody who knows you versus getting everything from a document from somebody you never met. And so it's important for us to enjoy this weather and acknowledge that this land was stolen, but also keep in mind that the practices that kept this territory healthy have also been stolen. And so we have to find a way to abolish our current ways in order to get back to nature and being nature. And I want to thank you all for being a part of this conversation. It's been an honor to create River Years. And if you haven't heard River Years, it's basically a chance for us to consider and lean into honoring the water in our bodies and the water around us to be better experiments of spirit. That's all we are. We're all spiritual experiments. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share in our acknowledgement. So I want to shout out that Issa and Sean and Key will be a part of the talk back later on this afternoon. So look for their faces. Anything I'm forgetting?
That's all. Thank you.
Ashe, Amen, Wanishi, blessings.